My goal in this video is to give you as much value per second any agency video has ever given you for free. And no joke, if you take everything I tell you in this video and you actually execute on it, this will grow your agency. The reason I can tell you this myself, I personally grew my agency last year from 0 to 40 grand a month in 5 months. And I also work with 60 plus other agency owners right now, currently learning what is working and what is not working. And as you can see on screen, we kind of have a mind map looking thing. And something I personally found extremely valuable, as you can see on the screen here, is breaking everything down into a mind map, because a lot of the time these systems are very complicated and it's difficult to understand unless you actually write it down, make a diagram of it. So what I decided to do today is make a mind map of the whole agency. And my intention with this video is for you to watch it all, get all the information, grow your agency. And if you want, you can also get this whole Miro for free. It's in the description. It doesn't cost you anything. You can simply get the whole guide of me laying everything out for you for free in the description. So we start here. We start with advertising. And obviously this is going to consist of appointment booking. And then we get into getting people to show up to sales calls. Then after that, we go, how do we sell? And what are the core drivers making an effective sales system? After that, we onboard clients. So we sell people on the service, we get them on. And lastly, we deliver the service. So these are the 5 systems we will be going through today. And we'll start with the shiny stuff, which is obviously advertising. And appointment booking is very nuanced, and it really depends on the niche you're in on how it's going to go. What I'm going to give you is a high-level overview of literally every single appointment booking system and try to simplify it as much as I can. So there's 2 styles of appointment booking, which is number 1, one-to-one, and then number 2, one-to-many. And we can categorize these in a bunch of ways. If you're thinking one-to-one, this obviously is either warm outreach or cold outreach. This is pretty basic. You might have heard this before, but I have to break it down just to explain it before we get into the nuances and the details of it. And when we're talking about one-to-one, it's more so a time-based thing. A lot of the times we're going to be manually sending voice memos through cold DMs. A lot of the time we're going to be manually pitching people on a cold call. And this is by far, if you're low on capital, the best system to use. And the reason it's the best to use is because the one-to-many systems in an agency need to be used at specific times. So when we're talking about one-to-many, there's paid ads here and there's content. And these two absolutely work, but they have their specific case scenarios. If you're a beginner, you're obviously going to not be spending $10,000 a month in paid advertising. You're obviously going to want to get some clients, spending minimal money as possible. And we can then transition eventually to these systems right here, like paid ads with photo ads and video ads, when you're making money from your agency off of warm outreach, cold outreach, and all of these like cold DMs, cold email, cold calling. Paid ads, switching to paid ads is a fantastic appointment booking system once you made that cash. If you've never sold someone before and you start going, oh, I'm going to spend $50 a day or $40 a day in ads, you might book a few appointments. They might be a very high cost per lead because you never ran ads before, but you might just not sell any of them. And then in that case, you're 3 to 5 grand a month down in cash. And then you again are back to ground zero and you have to go back to the first method right here, like cold outreach. So it's a transition we're going to make in our agency once we're there. And I can't not talk about content. You're obviously watching content right now, and this is totally a marketing system tons of agencies use and tons of coaches use because a lot of people on YouTube. Okay, so there's a crucial caveat though with agency content. The reason agency content isn't so big, it's not getting the views, as an example, SMMA videos are, agency videos are, is because local business owners are just in different places than the typical 20 to 25-year-old looking to start an agency, as an example. Completely different avatar, completely different places they're hanging out and spending their time. So with content, when we're talking about local businesses, not a lot of them are on the social media platforms like this. They're often going to be on phones, they're going to be on emails, they're going to be on Facebook, sometimes Instagram. So when we're talking about long form content like this, it isn't a sustainable acquisition system just for your first few clients. It's something I wouldn't look at. What we'll get into in the show up system over here that we'll get into in a minute, content is mainly lead nurturing. So when we're watching someone's content, if they give us a ton of value within a specific time frame, obviously I have a YouTube channel and I know this stuff because I've been doing this for a while. I've uploaded tons and tons of videos. It's lead nurturing where the more they watch someone's videos, the more value they get, the more money they make off the videos. they're going to like this person more, and the more likely they're going to buy from this person eventually. So it's really important to know content for local businesses for these specific avatars are often less effective than the cold outreach or paid ads. Really good to know. And we'll get into tons of lead nurturing stuff with content in a second. I'll tell you how to build a VSL and all that stuff that's very important. What I also added under each of these systems here, I added 80/20 success variables. It's a fancy word of saying what are the most important things within this system. So I've added a summary down below that affects the whole system here that I want to tell you because this is really important. The reason I call it 80/20 is the Pareto principle. It's basically saying 80% of outputs in companies, even in book sales, in marketing, are from 20% of the inputs. So 20% makes up the 80%. The remaining 20% on that 80% to get 100 is very minuscule and it's nuanced. So what are the most important things you have to do in terms of getting this system to actually work? Number one, strength of offer. And if you've not watched some offer creation videos before on my YouTube channel specifically, I have 3 components to making a really good offer. There's a promise, there's a time frame, and there's a guarantee. And if you're a total beginner, what you're going to be doing is pricing on performance. So it's something like a small setup fee plus a performance basis. And if you're doing performance, you charge per lead, per appointment, or per deal, and then you can do setup fee of, let's say, 300 to 800. I've talked about this before. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but these are very important when you're talking about doing outreach or marketing your offer in a specific way. All different channels of outreach, even ads, even content is just showing your offer to as many people as possible in different styles. So as an example, if you're running an SMS system, if you're texting a friend, if you're texting a business owner, you're often not going to be writing them essays like you would on email. But if you were to do that through a text system versus an email system, the way we format the text, the way we format the email is going to be drastically different. One is going to have a headline, then a body, then a CTA, maybe even a loom. A text is going to be 2 or 3 sentences because that's the style of texting. We don't text people essays unless there's a really big point to prove to a friend or something. But often we're not texting paragraphs and essays on SMS. So, case in point, the offer is the bedrock of all of these systems on screen. And if you have a bad offer, you will not have a good outreach system. You will not have a good ad system. If the offer is undesirable, it's not going to be effective as if you had a really good offer. It's super important to know. The next thing is congruent and attractive messaging of your offer. What do I mean by congruent and what do I mean by attractive? If you were to do an ad where you're just stating your offer, it might get some leads. If you were to do an ad and then the body of the ad mentions all these other companies are doing this and you don't like this, and I know you don't like this because you've probably had experience with XYZ thing, you've done all this before and none of it has worked. That's why we're different. That's what I mean by attractive, by the way. You can frame your offer differently on different channels, and with those different channels, you have opportunities to market it even better than it actually currently is by explaining why you're so different. And that's just one example of many, many things you can do when you're messaging your offer to make it attractive. The number one thing I can tell you with this is knowing your avatar super, super, super well. Every single niche is going to have its different problems. Every single niche is going to have different systems they're currently running that aren't working and they need to change. It's our job as agency owners in that specific niche to go, what are they struggling with, knowing that information and using that in all of our marketing. What I mean by congruent is what's the congruency from, as an example, an ad or cold outreach to a sales call. There's a lot of agency owners on an ad or a cold outreach that will say, completely pay on results basis, don't pay me until you actually get a job. And what do they do on the sales call? They go, okay, $5,000 up front, okay? That is an example of zero congruency. There is nothing that is congruent between an ad and the cold outreach versus the sales call. It's just completely different, okay? Very important to know, because if you do your marketing badly and you're not messaging your offer well because they're so different from the cold call or the ad to the sales call, you're going to have people showing up on there and just either leaving or not selling because they don't want your thing. They want your thing in your offer, in the messaging you're doing on the front end. If they hop on the call, it's entirely different, okay? They won't want the thing, it's not going to work out. Next thing, I'll cover it quickly because I am taking a long time on this video, so forgive me. Outreach method is determined by the niche. There's no best outreach method, okay? No matter what anybody will tell you, there's no best outreach method. It's more nuanced than that, and people want to get clicks, so we'll speak in absolutes, but it's not binary. There's a lot of things that are going on in niche environments that are always changing. You need to do research on your niche to find out where they are. What I call this is hangout spots. As an example, real estate agents answer the phone all the time because that's where they do all the business, so that's why cold calling works so damn well in that niche. If you're talking to a contractor who, let's say, is on the job all day and they check their email at night, you might be better off doing a cold email system and trying that in that niche as an example. So it's up to you to see where your niche is. You can either try a bunch of different outreach methods starting off to learn which one is more effective right now, or learn from someone above you, or do research into the niche and know before you even start the outreach method. Lastly, metrics to track cold outreach ABR. KPIs means key performance indicators. It means that we're aiming to go for this when we start the system. These are the numbers we want. ABR is appointment booking rate. It just means if we contact 100 people, if the ABR is 1%, we're booking one of them in out of 100 people. KPIs for cold outreach are often between 1 to 5%, especially with cold calls. If you're talking with a niche who always answers the phone and is receptive to your offer, you might get closer to 5%. If you're talking to a niche who's busy all day and you have a low pickup rate, low pitch rate, you might be booking 1%. And if you're talking about cold DMs, cold emails, where you're sending 500 a day and you just need 1% of them book in, or even 0.5% of them book in, then that also works if you're running that at scale. 1 to 5% is great. This is often what you need to aim for when you're starting a cold outreach system. If you're running paid ads, which if you're a beginner, you can kind of keep this in the back of your head for when you start paid ads. What we're tracking is cost per lead, cost per appointment, cost per acquisition. Cost acquisition means how much do you spend to get someone sold in the offer? How much you spend on ads to get a sale? Okay, that's all cost acquisition means. Cost per appointment means one step back, which is you book an appointment from ads. How much does this cost? Cost per lead is you get someone's contact information and it costs this. These are the metrics to track. This is what you need to look at when you're building these systems in terms of appointment booking. Next, show up systems. Once you know how to book appointments, you need to get people to show up to the damn appointments. If you have no show up systems, you might have anywhere from a 10 to a 50% show up rate on your sales calls. Preferably, we want as many people showing up to our calls as possible, and you need to build systems to do this. Okay, 3 categories: automated reminders, personalized reminders, and lastly, a VSL that you can make, and I'll show you all these systems. Automated reminders are often done on your choice of software for booking appointments. It might be GHL, you're using a calendar for this, or it could be Calendly, which is very classic. And you set this up within Calendly, the automations. 2 key automations that you need to do. At minimum, SMS confirmation, email confirmation. When they book a sales call, you have the lead information, you have the email and phone number. You send them a confirmation on both of these. And again, as I talked about earlier, we have a different style on text and we have a different style on email. So these are going to be a bit different. Let's talk about SMS. I'm going to give you an example here of an SMS confirmation. Hi, first name, you're scheduled with the call with X company, your agency, at X time here. Watch this before your call, pre-call. Okay, I'm going to be talking about the pre-call in a second. Don't mind that. This is a confirmation. So we say, this is the time you're scheduled at. Basically telling them that this is the time zone and I don't want to make a mistake of getting you booked in a different time. Here's a confirmation. Okay, cool. Next, email confirmation. See, it's a bit more longer form than an SMS confirmation here. And this says, stoked to confirm your slot for this calendar invite. I just sent you one last email with the calendar invite here. Okay, before we dive in, please hit play on a quick must-watch video, and this is our VSL. So this is the confirmation email, and we're getting them to watch this VSL, which I'll be telling you about in a second again. Last part, I do an area exclusivity policy with the agency, and what that means is I work with one realtor with one area. That's all I've ever done. What that means is if someone gets the area, I cannot accept any other realtors to run in that area as a system, okay? So what that means is I use this as an advantage to get them to show up to the meeting, because if they book next week, then they might not have the slot, okay? So that's what I do in the email confirmation, and it's incentivizing them to show, because if they don't show and they want to reschedule, I might just not have your spot available, which means you will not get the desired outcome that you booked this call for. So that's an example of a confirmation. Now we have personalized reminders. I just put together an example for you here. And we have something like this. Hey, name, it's X sales rep assigned from your company. Saw you booked an intro call. Meet tomorrow at X time. Just wondering if you have the Zoom link or should I send it here? Okay, so what is the best part about a personalized reminder? With these calendar softwares here, like I mentioned, you cannot do a back and forth texting, like at all. You can't get a text back from a prospect without it bouncing because this is being sent from your actual calendar reminder from that software you're using. You can't go back and forth. So this is why we have quote unquote personalized reminders on Go High Level, preferably. This is personally what I use. And 2 get sent the night before here. And this is very key because I ask them a question. It says, do you have the Zoom link or should I send it here? Okay. The reason we're asking that is to firstly get them engaged before our call to make sure they are showing up to the call. And number 2, if they got their Zoom link lost or something, then we can send that. But the main point here is to get them to contact us confirming the call the night before. And if they have any questions or any objections on why they might not be showing, we can get that out of the way the night before so we can handle that. If you're just using an SMS software here, you won't be able to handle that. And you don't even know if they're showing until you call them. So now we have a pre-call video, okay? I've talked about this extensively. There's a 23-minute video on the exact VSL template, right? So the thumbnail literally shows that there's exact slides in this video. I'll throw this in the description for you to watch later or after this video, after you go through this whole thing, because this is really important to get people to show. Okay, so what's the point with the pre-call VSL? In summary, pre-call VSL is only within the show rate section, as I put it here, because it does play massively into a show rate. Okay, so what that means is a pre-call VSL done well means a higher show rate. Pre-call VSL done bad means a lower show rate. So it is worth spending a lot of your time on a pre-call VSL when you get to this point to build one really effectively, because if you have a really bad one, your mic quality is horrible, you're saying the wrong things, you're selling the wrong things, it's not congruent with the thing they booked a call for, your show rate will naturally go down because of that. With that said, there is also one more indirect thing that's going to happen, and one of the main reasons we make the VSL in the first place. It plays directly into your close rate. So the reason this plays directly into your close rate, because you got a cold call, as an example. Let's think of a hypothetical situation. You got a cold call, you booked a calendar invite, you got a reminder for somebody to show up to the calendar invite, and then they show up to the call and they get pitched on a 5K thing, as an example. That person has a very low likelihood to get closed. Why? They don't trust you. You're a random stranger who called them and you got on a Zoom call with them and then they paid you $5,000. Doesn't work like that. If you're selling something high ticket in the agency space, we need nurturing systems, okay? What does this mean? We are improving trust on a VSL, rapport. They get to know us. Close rates are increased due to previous belief changes. So on the VSL, you can see in that template after you watch this video that there's tons of belief changes that we're going to do in a VSL on why we're different, why other companies are doing the wrong thing, or how we are doing a better thing. We're convincing them that they do need help in doing their marketing, and if they didn't do their marketing with us, then they'd go significantly worse. So there's tons of mini belief changes that we want them to believe before they get on the sales call. This really helps us on a sales call. It's called pre-handling. So when we get on a sales call with them, they have all of these things that we program them. You can say program, not really, just convince them of before they get on. And it's also authority building, which means this guy talked to me for 10 minutes about this system, explained it in depth, maybe showed some case studies, talked about himself on why they are trusted in their previous background. Just, it's overall a massively good thing for show rate if you do it well and close rate if you do it well. Now, let's talk about the 80-20 success variables on this system right here. There is a general show up rate to track this stuff. So this is literally all you need to go, is my show rate good or bad? What is the percent of people showing up? Ideally, we want this between 60 and 80%. If you get this higher, you are a maniac demon and awesome to you. But often it's going to be 60 to 80% after all this is implemented, and this is niche dependent, okay? So it's very dependent on the niche, on the show rates right there, and obviously you can always get it better, but it's really depending on the industry and how good your cold call was, everything leading up to that booking. If prospects are too cold on the sales call, you need to push harder in your VSL. So if you get everybody showing up to the sales call and you ask them if they watched the quick video you sent over and nobody says yes, you need to remind them every single reminder on Go High Level or even Calendly, and you need more trust built, especially if you have no pages of case studies like a lot of other agencies do. So general tips there. Now we'll get into sales, we'll get into onboarding, and then we'll get into service delivery. Let's talk about sales. There's a percent called good fit rate. What this means is basically, if you get someone on a sales call, what's the percent of people showing up that are actually a good fit for the service? As an example, if you're pitching residential real estate agents and you get some commercial real estate agents on the call, or you got people who have no money and you need people with money, this is what we call a good fit rate. So, number one thing for this is what we call marketing congruency, or what I call marketing congruency. I don't even know if other people have said that before, but I'm sure it's a thing. Basically, same thing as what we talked about earlier of misleading people into booking a call. If your messaging on the interactions to book the sales call are congruent with everything you're doing on the sales call, and it's not a bait and switch like a lot of people do, then you have really good marketing congruency. If you say there's nothing up front for a service and you have people hop on, guess who's hopping on? Broke people. If you're charging $5,000 for something, broke people are not a good fit. That means they have no money, they can't invest anything. Marketing congruency is really important for good fit rate. So that ties into front-end messaging, as I've just said. What you can do is if you're trying to do a wide net. So let's walk through this example for a second. I always talk about wide net versus narrow net. Basically what this means is when you're marketing, you can do a really wide net and catch everybody. So let's talk about these dots being people. With a wide net, you have everybody and their mother booking a sales call with you. And pros and cons to that. This is cheap, okay? This is cheap marketing. It's easy to get bookings. And you will have a higher ABR pitching everybody on earth and tons of people on sales calls, which means you can close a fraction of those, okay? Another one is what we call a narrow net approach. My nets are amazing, as you can see. Very good drawings. A narrow net is only a few people booking sales calls. So you might only have 1 to 3 calls a day or something versus like 10 plus. If you have a narrow net, this means you've pre-qualified everybody before booking the call, or actually getting to show up to the call at least. So if you want to transition from a wide to a narrow net, you can run qualification. So we want to qualify for financials. We want to qualify if they've been in business more than 5 years. We want to qualify if they have a shop or they don't have a shop, how much income they're making every single month. These are examples of common qualifications that happen across all businesses. What the common mistake that happens a lot of the time when people are switching to a qualification approach or switching from a wide to a narrow net is they don't do volume first. Okay, so what happens when you don't do volume first? You don't know what makes a good prospect. If day one you haven't booked over 50 sales calls and you go, I'm going to start qualifying people, you don't even know who's closing right now. You might have closed one person and your data point, your assumption is based off one close. That is not nearly enough. And then from there, you can see what prospects are hopping on sales calls who are getting very close to closing and they're a good fit, but I just didn't close them. Then from there, you go, what are my good fit prospects? What qualities do they have? Then we qualify for that. But you need to do volume of sales calls first, volume of clients and volume of bookings before you run any qualification, or hey, look, that's not going to work out. Now, we have close rate. We have the general close rate without people showing up. So if we book, let's say just on our calendar, 100 people, and we get a 10% close rate, that means 10 people out of even no-shows actually are closing. So if close rate is low and you contrast that with close rate on shows, two very different things. We're calculating out of people that showed up, what's the percent? Out of people that even didn't show up, what's the percent? If your close rate on show is high and your close rate here is low, that means you have a show up rate problem, which means you should refer back to this system, the show up rate system, and get that higher. Let's talk about close rate on show. This is very important, and it's basically all of sales generalized into a metric without talking about the agency's offer, how well they're positioned, how good the front end marketing is. It's basically how good is this closer on a sales call in general. So this is boiled down into every interaction on the sales call. So this is a difficult concept to talk to you in about 5 minutes about. What I can tell you, these are the 80/20s, like I'm talking about earlier, of sales right here. I'm just going to quickly summarize it, trying my best to. Number one thing when you're getting a sales call is rapport building. How's your day so far? Keeping busy as usual? Got it. Just general questions on the sales call. Super easy stuff. So first few minutes, you're just getting to know them. Next thing, line of questioning. Okay, what we're doing in the line of questioning is trying to build up pain. They booked this call for a reason. What is the reason for booking this call? Okay, they have a problem with reliably getting 3 deals each month. Okay, what problems do not getting 3 deals right now cause for you in your life and business? So we're digging down into the problems they have to make them realize that they need to change. This is what we're doing in the line of questioning. Also, after we build pain, we can get into their desired outcomes and their goals and see if we can help them in getting them that specific goal that they would like. Next, after the rapport building, after the line of questioning, you get to the pitch. This is very important, and some things that play into this are confidence. So, are you pitching like, I really think I can help you? Like, yeah, I'm super confident I can help you. Or like, I really think I can help you, John. I'm so unbelievably confident in doing this exact thing for you in your business. It's crazy. Okay. Don't be a maniac and go overly sales god and just think you're the Wolf of Wall Street. Make sure to act like a human still, but have a lot more confidence when you're pitching. Next thing, value proposition. Is your offer even good? We can talk about sales skill all day, but is the actual offer you're pitching good? You can be the best salesman in a horrible offer and trying to sell a potato for $1,000. And it's probably not going to work unless it's this very special potato and we want to make her offer a very special potato. So after we pitch, we get into the objection handling, closing. And then from here, it's just sending payment links, it's contracts and softwares. And then we get, in a second, onto onboarding systems. But what are the 80/20s of sales? In terms of good fit rate, front-end messaging matches the offer. Boom. That's what influences that. Pain built during line of questioning. If you're not building pain enough, I talk to agency owners who are not doing this as effectively whatsoever as they can actually be doing. In this case, they will not take action if this is bad. They will not invest anything because they don't even think there's a problem. They talk to you about it. It's a casual conversation. They have no problems and they don't think there's a problem. They are curious about XYZ thing, but if they're curious, they still have a problem they want to solve or at least get better in something so you didn't get enough jobs. So pain influences action. That's what we're trying to do. Value proposition, perceived value is high as possible. So are you making your service look as good as it possibly can be? Is it looking really good on sales calls or is it not being portrayed well whatsoever? Pricing, okay, this is really important by the way. Pricing matches value of service and current authority level. What I mean is if you have one case study right now, you're trying to charge $4,000 for a service and prospects ask how many people you've done this with and you say one. They're not going to trust you that much, okay? You look like a beginner. Why you're charging $4,000 for this? You probably should be on a performance offer unless you're a sales god. Again, you can build trust in another way, like you have past experience in this industry. But if you don't have that happening right now, you probably should be charging something less or having a lot of the money you make on performance, so it's less risk for the prospect. So the value of service is important. If they invest $5,000 in your company, can you make them like 20? And next thing is authority level. How well can they trust you in getting them this outcome? Now, onboarding system. Bam. We have 2 main things for onboarding systems. It's shorter than the service delivery system I built. We have an onboarding call. So right when you sign a client and they pay you X amount or they sign a contract, okay, then we have an onboarding call. I do recommend doing onboarding calls. There are some agencies who just do everything like, hey, fill out this Google form and I'll be checking in with you on how everything's going and I'll get you up and running. I like onboarding calls. Why? I heard this from Hermosi a while back that onboardings and liking the relationship with someone drastically increases retention on this specific business, your agency. Why? It's harder to break off a relationship than a business service. So if you, as an example, are paying for software, it's your buddy's software, it's your buddy's company, and you're one of their first customers. It's not just the software that you're taking into account when canceling, it's your buddy's first business who you're trying to support. That's just a random example of why relationships are harder to break than just services. If you have a good relationship with clients, it's hard to break that because you're knowing them on a human level and you really like this person. You don't want to disappoint them. Maybe before canceling, you'll talk to this person about why I want to cancel and maybe they can help me. So that's why onboarding calls, I really like them. And also it's really nice just operationally getting people set up and onboarding them to the program. So one more thing about onboarding specifically is expectation. This match is actually right here, which is setting the path moving forward. If people come in with the wrong expectations and it's unbelievably high and it's not realistic, then they're going to cancel within a week. So if you tell them on a guarantee that you're going to reach 10 clients in 3 months and like they're a month in and they got one, like obviously the expectation is mismatched. And a lot of expectation setting is just matching expectations to reality. You want to ground them in reality, what's actually going to happen. So it's worth, even though if you said it before, to restate key expectations, a few key expectations. When are we going to be communicating? When will I be launching the system that you bought? What results should I get within X time frame? Everything that you can think of relating to the agency experience should be set as an expectation. Onboarding call, what you can also do is if you're using GHL or a calendar or something, you can basically get this set up on the onboarding call. So basically inviting clients, getting their email, adding them to everything, making sure they're set up, make sure they understand the software. This is really helpful. Operations. Something that's really important when onboarding people is SOPing everything. So even if you're doing things yourself right now, make a doc for every single client, which is a streamlined process. It goes, let's say I'm making that for myself and I'm a solo agency owner. Joe, you'll click this button. Joe, you'll go here. Then you'll add this creative to the ad here. And then you'll add them to go high level here. And this is how you'll add their permissions and to go high level for each client. It's nice to not forget anything. If you're onboarding a bunch of clients in the future, if your acquisition system's good enough, you can onboard a bunch of clients. If you have everything SOP'd, it's fine because you can just do the checklist. If it doesn't take too much time, you know step by step exactly what to do. What you can also do is template things. So a lot of these softwares will have like, hey, client snapshot template. You add this into Snapshot, and if your system is copy and paste, which I'll get into that in a second, you can do the same thing for each client and see how it goes. And you can always make iterations after you launch whatever system you're running. Automating as much as possible. If it can be done by a robot, why make it done by a human? Why pay someone to do it? Why do it yourself? If it's taking so much time for you, like automating emails, like automating onboarding emails, setting a Zapier is much easier. It takes you 10 minutes to set up. You set it up once. All clients moving forward have an email. You don't have to ever do it again. What's the 80-20 for this? I like a word called productize. I studied a lot of software founders, and what they always preach is making the service as dumb as possible for anybody to understand it. There's a lot of pros of productizing as well, but think of your service as a software. Softwares are universal across each customer who joins, and we want to get as close to this as possible for a whole process to be maximally streamlined without sacrificing quality. Okay, so there's often a contradiction between quality and streamlining. So let's call this streamlining, call this quality. We want to find a healthy balance between these two. If you have a streamlined system, but the quality is not there and the ads are horrible and it's bad, but you have everything streamlined, then you don't have a business. It's just scamming people. If you have quality, but each client takes 50 hours to set up, then you have no streamline. You can acquire like one client a week because it takes so long. Okay. If you have a happy middle and you have something streamlined where a client takes 2 hours to set up and the quality is still there in terms of the client results, this is what we want to get. It's just a happy middle between these two things. And we can always do a templated ad or something and then iterate all the time on everything that's happening and try to make it better with tests. If you have an ad that rips across every single location in the country and it's a copy and paste ad and you just change, as an example, like a call out in the first 5 seconds, perfect. Amazing. That's streamlined. It's pretty damn streamlined. Expectations are probably more important than you realize. I talked about expectations for a second, but I mean, like, you have to go far with this. And when I was starting my agency, I onboarded my first few clients. And I said, basically, ads will be online in 5 days and you'll have everything going well. Let me know if you need anything. Kind of the gist of what I was expecting they would be okay with. Then day 3, after they paid me $2,000 or $1,000, something along those lines, I forget my first offer, but it's something like that. They're like, Joe, What's happening? I'm like, what? I told you we're launching 2 days. You haven't texted me in 3 days. What that means is if someone pays you online across the country a few grand for something, which for these people is a lot of money when they're doing a local business, took their whole bank account as an example, you need to be absolutely dialed through your communication. I didn't set an expectation on communication. I didn't say, I'm going to communicate with you these days of the week. We're going to have a call these days of the week. If you need me, text here. Didn't do any of that. I'm like, just let me know what you need, how everything's going, and I'll update you. But like, I didn't check in for a few days. After them paying me that, it wasn't good. So that really was a problem. I obviously fixed those expectations after that, but it was a really hard lesson getting on a call with them and going like, what the hell's going on? Now, last part, which is service delivery. This video was going very long. I wasn't expecting this to go this long, but hey, look, it's fine. I hope this is valuable. Service delivery goes into 3 main components, at least the way I see it here. We have lead gen, which is the main service they're paying for. We have client communication, which I briefly mentioned there, and we have client retention. How long do they stay? With lead gen, I've done a 30+ minute video on service delivery, exactly this. So you might want to watch that, but I'm going to summarize it for you really quickly. For a lead gen agency running paid ads, which I hope majority of you are that, and I recommend that the most, to be honest, for making as much cash and also providing great service for customers, you can either use Meta or Google. The number one thing with good advertising is pattern disrupts. They are scrolling past hundreds of Instagram posts. They're so used to doing it, you gotta have something that catches their attention. If you don't have something that catches their attention and it's super boring, they will not get past 1 second. Your attention on the video will be 0.5 seconds. Nobody will see your offer. Cost per lead will be horrible. Number one tip, it just has to be pattern disrupting. Same with outreach, same with everything like that. But the most important thing here for ads, if you're looking to catch someone's attention, it's 100% pattern disrupts. 2 types of ads you can do: photo ads or video ads. Photo ads is a core offer, and we'll get into this in a second. I'm not going to spend too much time on photo ads. It's actually quite simple to do photo ads compared to video ads, but video ads for me personally always have worked the best. Let's talk about video ads for a second. What makes a good video ad? Quality hooks. First 3 to 5 seconds is where you're going to lose everybody. The first 3 to 5 seconds determines if they keep watching. Okay, so it determines that. This is the most important part. What we do with ads is we get 10 hooks. Let's go hook. Let's just do 3 as an example. Hook 1, hook 2, hook 3. Bam. Then we have a body. So what is a body? It's the last, like, let's say 30 to 60 seconds of the ad. It's basically explaining the offer. But we test 10 plus hooks. I record probably 20 hooks every like 2 weeks myself for video ads. But we have 10 hooks and we test 1 to 3 bodies, okay? What that means is hooks are massively more important. If you have a winning body, the most important thing to do after that is test as many hooks as damn possible. So that's very important to do. It's just catching their attention. It's the same thing kind of as a pattern disrupt, but it's more important to keep them retained. Speaking of retention, high retention. Attention spans are unbelievably horrible right now. Social media is causing everybody ADHD because they cannot focus on something for more than 5 minutes. Same with me. It's not good. But with this said, if your ad is boring and isn't intriguing, people will not even get to hear the offer. If your editing is there's a switch every 10 seconds, you don't even have captions, there's no music, and it's just you talking at a camera. For some people who meditate and read books, sure, maybe it'll work. Most people will not be sticking around to hear your offer versus if you had music, if you have captions, if you have some B-roll, if you had animations. It's a very big difference. Core offer. Same thing as outreach. If the ad is great, but the value proposition isn't there, and it's not messaged well in the offer, then hey, look, it's not going to work. It's going to be really bad. It's not going to work out well for you. Core offer is the foundational bedrock. Same thing as outreach as ads. If the ad is mediocre, but the offer is amazing, it's a free lead magnet into a free thing, and they don't have to pay anything, and it's just an opt-in, don't have to do much selling. It's a really good offer. So you have to think about really good offers for your specific niche. And is it a free estimate lead magnet? Then they go to the home and they get an estimate, see if you want to move forward. Is it a free home evaluation that you can get within 24 hours from a real estate agent? Again, its core offer is the same thing as like very similar to at least the offer technique we talked about before. We have promise, we we have a time frame, and we have a risk reversal. If it's free, you don't need a risk reversal. It's not like, hey, look, if you don't like it, I'll pay you $500. Well, for a lead magnet, you don't need to do a risk reversal. These two things are really important. What's the promise? Are you tapping into a desire that they also want? And what time frame are they getting this thing in? If you say a free estimate for a roof within 7 days versus a free estimate for a roof in 24 hours or instantly after you get a call immediately from a roofer, that's damn good. Very big difference. One last thing here, booking clients' appointments. You already know how to make people show up to your own sales calls. Okay, you've done this since I just walked you through it. Very similar systems. If you know how to get a good show up rate in an agency, it's a very similar thing to getting people to show up to client phone calls or even client in-person appointments. It's a very similar thing with SMS, emails, and even calls, especially for someone as a different avatar who's relying on the phone. Client retention overall, not service delivery, video retention. We're talking about client retention now to get people to stay a long time with the agency. One main thing. This is the 80-20 of it. If you get this right, the rest nearly doesn't matter as much as this whatsoever. What's the return investment they're making from you? If they put $1K a month in your agency and they make $3K a month repeatedly and they do nothing and you just run your ads and they pay you this a month to do everything, and obviously it's probably going to be a bit more than 1K, I'm just using this as an example here, they will stay, okay? So I always do return investment on cash collected. If they're making $3,000 a month from your service in cash and they're spending $1,000 with you, they're going to be happy. This includes ad spend, by the way, 2 to 3x ad spend plus agency fee versus how much they're making in profit from the agency. Businesses fundamentally invest in agencies to make more cash themselves. They need help with growing the business. This isn't a life coaching business. This is an agency business with paid ads. It's for their business. The biggest driver of retention is simply making them more money. Make them more the longer they stay. And it's a lot of complications on retention. We're solving for what they signed up with us to do. That's the main thing. So what are some 80-20s? And then we'll wrap up the video. It's been a long one. For creatives, Facebook ads library is your best friend. So this is really important. I haven't mentioned this yet. It's your best friend for getting inspiration on what's currently working. Focus on ads that have been running for the longest. If they've been running for a long time, that means they're spending money on it. If they're spending a lot of money for a long time, they're probably not losing money unless they forgot about running ads, which absolutely will not happen. They're spending money, they're profitable. In your niche. Okay, so go to your niche's Facebook ads library, look at ads that are running, and then go to running the longest. You can see a date that they started running. Look for the earliest date possible. You get a really good inspiration for the exact ads to do. If you see some video ads have been running for months and months and months, then try a similar angle. Try the same hook or a variation of that hook. Try it out. Number one focus for client satisfaction retention is making them money. You should be consistently testing and experimenting with ways to improve all parts of the system to do that exact thing. If you have a 2x return right now in cash, you want to get that up. It's always a goal to make the clients more money. It's always a goal to improve the product. It's always a goal for developers of a software company to get better at doing the product or solving for the core issue they signed up for. The agency model is optimized to making more money for the clients. In any possible way you can do that. Obviously being ethical. And improving your ad system, improving your conversion system, improving your show up rate, everything like that. If you look at the metrics and go, where is the drop off? How do I improve the drop off? There you go. Then you're bottleneck testing. Then you will make your clients more and more and more money. Damn. Okay. I really hope this was helpful. And it's been a big video here. I will remind you one more quick time that this is all free. And it's in the description. It's a free community that I have. Just get in with 9,000 plus other agency owners, might be like 10K now, but I have all the resources from every single video I've ever posted in there. Get in for free right now. I really hope this is valuable. Let me know if you want more stuff like this. And if you hated it, let me know that too, please. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.